Alright. So, are you familiar with telling time?
Yeah.
You know how to tell time, right? Most of us should know how to tell time, but nowadays we have digital clocks, so a lot of us don't really and truly remember how to use analog clocks in the sense that, you know, if I ask you to tell the time from an analog clock, you might stand up and watch it and think a little, a minute or so to try to figure out what is the time, right? Now, the analog clock in particular has two hands, right? Some analog clocks have three, but this one we're looking at here has two hands. What this short hand is used for?
When you judge the time?
In your analog clock, you remember what's the purpose of your shorthand? What the shorthand is pointing to?
D1.
Right? This is for your hour. And what this hand is for?
20 minutes.
Very good, the minutes. So right now, if the hour hand is pointing at 1 and the minute hand is pointing at 12, what time do you think it is? What time do you think it is?
1:55?
So, let's see. Remember, the minute hand pointing at 12 means that it would have turned through all of this, right? You remember your 5 times tables really well?
5, 10, 15, 20,
45. Here's 10 fives are. What's 10 by 5? 50. Good. And what's 11 by 5? 55. So if it was 155, your minute hand would actually be pointing at the 11, and the hour hand would actually be somewhere between 1 and 2. So right now it's exactly pointing at 1, and the minute hand is pointing exactly at 12. So if here's 55, how many would be at 12? How many minutes?
2 o'clock.
How many minutes would be at 12?
12 minutes.
12 by 5 is?
60.
Right. How many minutes make an hour?
1.
How many minutes make an hour?
1 hour.
Yeah. How many minutes? You could remember? How many minutes make an hour? So think about
12.
it. 12 by 5 is? What's 12 by 5? Where's your Thelma?
12.
12 by 5. Where's your Thelma? And now tell me how much minutes there.
1 minute.
No, think again. One more time. You now tell me the answer. You're not too long tell me the answer. 12 by 5 is?
60.
Right. So, 1 hour is 60 minutes.
Minute.
Right. I want you to keep that in mind. 1 hour is 60 minutes, right? Aside from that, when the minute hand is pointing at 12, it means that we are on an hour, right? So with the short hand pointing at 1 and the minute hand pointing at 12, what this is actually telling me, it's 1 o'clock. It could be 1 a.m., it could be 1 p.m., but it is currently 1 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
So right now our clock is saying 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Now if the time right now is 1 o'clock, right? What they're asking us to do is this. They say the shorter hand turns through 180 degrees. And they want to know which number it is now pointing to. So they don't even want you to tell them the timer. They actually want you to just tell them if this short hand turns through 180 degrees, where would the minute hand be pointing? The hour hand would be pointing to. That's what they want to know. So, the first thing is this, right? So, earlier we talked about the 90-degree angle. Have you ever seen a 180-degree angle?
No.
No? Alright. So, 180 degrees is basically half of a circle. Right? Half of a circle. So, to make it easier, we're going to use the markings on the circle, right? So let's count how many markings we have. How many markings do you think we might have on the circle?
1,
How many markings do you think we might have on the circle? These little lines. How many of them you think you will have in the circle?
12,
12, correct, right? You'll have 12. So if we have 12 markings, can you tell me what half of 12 is? If I ask you for half of 12, you can tell me what half of 12 is? So if I'm asking you for half of 12, we're talking about dividing by 12, dividing 12 by 2, right? So divide 12 by 2 for me. What do you think you'll get?
6,
That's correct. 6. So half of 12 is 6, right? So if I'm telling you that what they're asking us to do basically is turn the shorthand halfway through the clock, right? I want you to tell me where you think this hour hand, the shorthand, will point, right? So if it is the shorthand has to turn through 6 of these markings, can you tell me where you think the shorthand will point?
6 up.
You think it will point at 6? The shorthand, not the long one, the short one.
6,
Alright, let's see. Here's the thing I want you to do, right? I want you to remember we say that it has to pass through 6 of the markings, right? So let's count. Right now it is on 1. So if it turns 1 through 1 marking, where it should point to now?
2,
It should point at 2. So that's 1 marking, right? I just writing it down fair. So we turn 1 marking. How many we have to how many a total how many we need to turn through? Total number?
6,
6. So let's keep counting. So if it turns to 3, how many markings do we pass through?
2,
Keep going.
3,
Mm-hmm.
4,
Right.
5,
So let's just stop. So remember earlier you tell me that if the shorthand have to turn halfway around the clock, you were thinking it would stop at 6. Do you still think it will stop at 6?
no,
No. Where should it actually stop?
7,
At 7, because this is the 6th marking. So if we had to draw in the shorthand would actually be pointing at 7. So point here. What time is that? If the shorthand is on 7 and the longhand is on 12.
you just tell time.
Yeah, you can tell me. If the shorthand is on 7 and the longhand is on 12. So remember we said that when the shorthand was on 1 and the longhand was on 12, that was
Yeah,
1 o'clock. So now if the shorthand is on 7 and the longhand is on 12, what time do you think it would be?
1, 7,
7 o'clock, right? 7 o'clock. Alright, so all they wanted really and truly was what number would the shorthand be pointing to? So what number is the shorthand pointing to?
7,
7, right? So that's what we would put here, 7. Right? And like I would say, this is just a quick little recap as well for telling time with your analog clock as well, right? You know that 1 hour 60 minutes. Your shorthand is your hour hand, your long hand is your minute hand. And we just talked about what time it is if the shorthand is pointing to a number and the long hand is on 12, right?